Ademola Adeboya, who will co-anchor this with myself. One responsibility of being a chairman is you have to be able to fall into place and fill the void. So I will anchor this session. I want to thank you all for attending, and I noticed that we are slightly behind time. We do need to just want to make sure that we can have a yes, Pius, you are a co-host now. You're a host, so you should be able to play the national anthem. That is where we want to start. And once the national anthem is said, we will start. It's played. We will start the proceedings. Thank you so much, and welcome everybody to the ACEN EGM 2020. Just waiting for the national anthem. Thank you very much indeed. And good morning to all of you, particularly those all around the world who are joining us at this first session of the 2020 EGM of the Association for Caring in Nigeria. This is a momentous occasion because it is the first time that we are holding this online. I don't think we need to explain why that is the case. And we will therefore, in welcoming you, please ask that you pardon any minor hitches here and there. We're going to try and be as fast and prompt, because the first thing I should also have done was welcome, congratulate our Muslim brothers and sisters on this particular Salah day, and to note that because it is a public holiday in Nigeria, there are various other activities. So we have set this particular program to be as business-like as possible, to be able to allow those who need to go on to other things to do so. I am going straight into the address of the chairman of the organizing committee, who happens to be myself. I want to say that it's been a great pleasure to actually take on this challenge, because we know that we are living in challenging times, but it has probably, hopefully, brought out the best in us, in the sense that we have learned to do things differently, and we continue to learn, and we must learn. If not, we may find ourselves extinct. I think the first thing that I have learned personally is the ability to hold a very high-powered meeting in my pajamas. You can actually take off your video and still do what you may have had to fly around the world for. So there are certainly some pluses. And what we're hoping with today's session is to actually look at how our practices can emerge even stronger out of all these challenges. So it is a great pleasure that we have with us, all the way from Geneva, Switzerland, the CEO of FIDIC. He will be speaking with us. And in addition, we are particularly happy to have one of ourselves, a past president of ACEN, the Honorable Minister, Engineer Suleiman Adamu. We will still be doing the appropriate introductions, but I just want to welcome you all to say that there are some housekeeping rules. We have two sessions. The first session is what we have now, which is effectively a webinar. We are already noting that the numbers are rising. And so when we get to the limit of the webinar, this will automatically be streamed live to YouTube channels. So those who are unable to get in can view this online real time. In addition, we will be having a 30-minute break after this session before going into the members only EGM meeting, which will start at 12 noon. So I would say those are the few. The other thing is, of course, please mute your mics whenever you aren't speaking. The last thing I will say as the organizing committee chairman, I will still be addressing us as we go along, is that because ACEN is very mindful of the harsh realities of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have chosen to be sensitive to the possible impact this has had on some of our members. And for that reason, we have chosen to dramatically slash the registration fee to just 5,000 naira. It does not mean that we cannot do with funds, but it means that we don't want to labor too much anybody who is feeling the impact negatively. So we would like, please, that those who are able to please donate generously so that we can still realize the appropriate funding that's needed for ACEN. At this point, I would like to hand over to, I think, the second anchor for today, Engineer Ademola Adeboya, just to call up the president to give his opening speech. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning to everyone joining us for this year's EGM. It's my pleasure to introduce ACEN President, Engineer George Okoroma, who is going to give us the welcome address.
Good morning, distinguished engineers and FEM members. This meeting is expected to be, of course, in Lagos as in Lagos. Therefore, the protocol should take the normal process. The Executive Governor of Lagos State, His Excellency Babajide Olusola Sawolu, the past presidents, distinguished guests, ESCO and council members, distinguished FEM members, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. It is a thing of joy for me that despite the challenges brought on us by the novel coronavirus pandemic, every one of us in the ACEN family is alive, hale and healthy up until today. It can only be ascribed to the unfailing love and mercies of God Almighty, which He has showered on us abundantly. With great joy in my heart, I wish to welcome you all to the 2020 Extraordinary General Meeting of our great association. Normally, this event should have held physically in Lagos State, but for the restrictions on social gathering brought about by COVID-19, we are harnessing technology to host this important meeting of our session on the Zoom platform. Since its inception in 1971, the Association for Consulting Engineering in Nigeria, ACEN, has continued to chart the way forward for effective and ethical engineering consultancy services for government, ministries, departments, agencies, and corporate organizations. The past 49 years of our existence has witnessed first-class leadership from 17 carefully selected distinguished engineers of impeccable character and goodwill. Within this period, a lot of novel ideas were birthed, policies were promulgated, and initiatives were championed for the growth and advancement of engineering and consultancy service in Nigeria. It is a thing of joy for me to state without mincing words that this is the first extraordinary general meeting that is holding in my tenure as the 18th president of this association. Permit me to use this medium to express my profound gratitude to ESCO and council members and our distinguished firm members for conferring on me the honor to steer the affairs of this association as your president. I wish to thank all very kindly support and goodwill that my team and I enjoyed so far. The current position of ACEN on the summit of greatness is a function of your unreserved corporate and administrative support which you have given us. With you on our side, we are confident that a part of ACEN will continue to shine brighter and brighter onto a perfect day. The extraordinary general meeting of this great association is a time when we come together to review our stance, our destination. It is a time to take stock of our activities for the first half of the year and to evaluate and strengthen the understanding of our role as consultant engineers in the economic development of our great nation, Nigeria. As the only professional body of engineering consultants in Nigeria, the key part of our responsibility is to be fully involved and ensure that design and construction of infrastructure projects are done with total adherence to international standards and with resilience and sustainability thinking. The theme of this year's EGM is the survival and strengthening of consulting engineering practice in disruptive and uncertain times. There is no denying that we are in an uncertain time, definitely. Many things have changed, business has crumbled, companies are downsizing, and our world of contracts are in its minimal ratio. To enable consulting engineers and consulting firms to survive the hardship brought on the global community by the novel coronavirus, it is imperative that we refocus our searchlights and learn innovative strategies to strengthen our firms and to help us survive in this disruptive time. A lot of critical thinking went down the line to enable the EGM Planning Committee to pull up this team. I am glad and proud of the depth of knowledge and exposure of the resource persons who have been invited to share ideas with us in this August gathering. It is therefore my pleasure to formally welcome our guest of honor, Engineer Suleiman Adamu FNSE, Fellow of the Academy of Engineering, a past president, and the Honorable Minister for Water Resources of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you, sir, for honoring our invitation. Permit me also to welcome our guest speaker, a distinguished engineer of international repute, Engineer Dr. Nelson Ogunshakin, a fellow of the Institution of Civil Engineers, United Kingdom, a member of the Order of the British Empire, OBE, and the CEO of the International Federation of Consulting Engineers, FIDIC, Geneva, Switzerland. It is our great pleasure to have you in our midst, Dr. Nelson. Thank you for coming. We really appreciate you, sir. I believe deep down in my heart that we are going to have a great time together. We are going to learn, unlearn, and relearn. At the end of this conference, we will come up with a communique that we hope will be an aggregate of our collective views on the integrated approach to ensuring the survival and strengthening of our consulting practice through advocacy and representation to relevant arms of government. We have our corporate sponsor, KUTIC, and other sponsors of this event in attendance at this conference. And
I'm not hearing you.
During this COVID-19 pandemic year, I wish to thank very kindly the brains behind the planning of this event and the leadership of Engineer Adebayo, Fellow of the Nigeria of Engineers, who is the chairman of the planning committee. You all are super awesome, and I thank you for your hard work. To this end, distinguished engineers and firm members, by the power vested on me as the 18th president of the Association for Consulting Nigeria in Nigeria, ACEN, I declare the 2020 Extraordinary General Meeting of this association open. Thank you, and may we all have a fruitful deliberation. Good morning. Chairman, unmute yourself. Chairman of the committee, unmute yourself, please. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you for, I'm sure many of us have heard that instruction before. Unmute yourself, unmute yourself. It's probably going to be the most used this particular year. Thank you, Mr. President. You have actually done what the MC would do, which is to lay the ground and introduce our special guests. And with no further ado, I would really love to re-echo your words that we are pleased and privileged to have the Honorable Minister in our midst. And as I said before, since he's one of our past presidents, he's certainly no stranger to us. I'm now formally requesting that the guest of honor please addresses us. Honorable Minister, Engineer Suleiman Adamu, please.
Thank you very much, Chief Host. Mr. President of ACEN, past presidents of ACEN and members of council, our guest speaker, Dr. Nelson Ogunshakin, CEO of FIDIC, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and greetings from a very gray Abuja, because this being the rainy season. I'm glad to have been asked to present a goodwill message at this EGM, and despite the fact that it's a public holiday, but at least you can see that this disruption at least allows us, even if it's a public holiday, to be able to hold this session, since we can be anywhere in view of the advances in communication technology. This theme of the AGM is very apt, considering the fact that virtually the best half of this year has been disrupted in so many ways. We're talking about what we call new normal, although I pray that it does not continue to stay as new normal. We'll get back to normal at some point. But I think a lot of strides have been made. They say necessity is the mother of invention. And the situation we found ourselves in the last 6 to 7 months has generated a lot of ideas on how we can move on with our lives, disrupted as it seems, but at least be able to do some of the things that we need to do rather than sit down at home and pray for some miracle to happen. So life has gone back to near normal in so many ways, massively because we have there's been giant strides in inventions, and technology has gone very far. Information technology in particular in the last 20, 30 years, as if we knew that we're going to get to this stage. But still there are challenges. My concern is that while we have this infrastructure in so many places to deal with this kind of situation, the information technology infrastructure, but we still have a situation where in trying to solve these disruptions, we're also creating a lot of disruptions. For instance, in our setting, we find that a lot of times there's no reliability of service. I'm so scared that maybe as I'm talking now, I might lose signal, and that's a disruption in itself. So I think this whole situation needs to be fine-tuned over time in such a way that this new normal, it's really working and working very well. As consultants, especially, I see a lot of potentials. If you look at the way, just look at a typical design office. Without any much ado, I think time has come through facilities like Zoom, where we can actually have a design conference. You can work with you have your designers in a different setting or on site, and you'll be able to solve solutions in real time, without any problem. So these are some of the advantages that I see, but I'm sure we'll hear a lot from my good friend, Dr. Nelson, who is the CEO of all of us consulting engineers all across the world. The potentials are huge, but also the trappings and the secondary risks of additional disruptions are also there. And we need to be watchful of those kind of things. And even up till now, the moderator was talking about unmute your mic. We still haven't come to terms with this this technology. There are still some of us that are on the analog digital divide. So we better learn to to join the crowd and move with the times. So quite a lot of fascinating things happening around the world and happening to us for good, I hope. But we must seize the moment and be able to do the needful. On a final note, I'd like to say that I still believe that this COVID-19 pandemic has a lot of potential for us, especially in Nigeria, to look inwards. Every country is isolated now. Every country has its own problems. We have to look inwards to deal with our own problems. And I hope lessons have been learned from this pandemic to the extent that we'll be able to design homegrown solutions to a lot of things in our economic lives. So I thank you very much for inviting me and I wish us a very fruitful EGM, virtual as it is, and to congratulate the President and EXCO and Council of ACEN for seizing the moment and quickly adopting this new normal so that we can continue with our businesses. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for the goodwill address. Now, I'd like to introduce the main speaker for the day, Dr. Nelson Ogunshakin, Fellow of the Institute of Civil Engineers in the UK, and a man with the Order of the British Empire, which is a mighty title. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. It is a great pleasure to be invited to join you on this special day. I hope you can all hear me loud and clear, wherever you are. I want to start by doing the usual stuff, which is pay respect to those who are ahead of me, and particularly the Honorable Minister, past President of the ACEN, and a good friend, our President, George Okoroma, the organizing committee chair, Engineer Kunle Adebajo, the ACEN members, wherever you are, all over Nigeria, a lot of the people around the world who are also listening to this, I want to thank you for joining this particular occasion. As to say in the usual manner, I am not familiar with all Nigerian protocol, but I will qualify by saying all protocol observed. It is a great honor and a real privilege to be invited by ACEN after 2 years, just 2 years of being in office as the CEO of FIDIC. Being a Nigerian and being Nigerian diaspora and having done what one has done over the last 40 years, and to be in the position where you are being invited by your home country to speak on behalf of ACEN and to speak on behalf of FIDIC, I feel really honored. So thank you very much for inviting me for this occasion. I bring you greetings, as we do, from FIDIC President Bill Howard, who is actually currently locked down in Boston, and also greeting from the entire FIDIC President and past President, and also our members from Australia, from China, from Mexico, from Sweden, from England, from Holland, and also from Spain, and particularly Indonesia, and greeting from all of them across the world. I think it's fair to say that when you look at what is happening over the last few months, as the Honorable Minister eloquently put it together, one can easily assume the question, are we dreaming or is this real? And the truth of the matter is, we are not dreaming, it is real. And we are now going through a new period where I think the word that keeps coming up is unprecedented experience, a one in a lifetime experience. And the challenge that we have is, where does FIDIC fit into that? Where does our profession fit into that? Is this an opportunity or a challenge? Are we going to let the COVID-19 overcome us, or do we take it as an opportunity for us to repackage ourselves? Before I address the topic, I probably want to take one step down and actually bring you an update as to FIDIC. So far, I'm delighted Nigeria is a member of FIDIC. We have 102 countries around the world who are members of FIDIC, and we have 44,000 companies who are employing in excess of millions and millions who are members, representing 4.5 billion population around the world. And the challenge of COVID-19 is affecting every single countries that are members of FIDIC. Yes, the situation in Nigeria may be peculiar, the situation in Africa may be peculiar, but actually looking through some of the things that FIDIC has done over the last 2 years since I've been in office, for example, engaging all the banks, which are 6 multilateral banks, the World Bank, Inter-American Development Bank, Caribbean Development Bank, African Development, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, EBRD. All these banks are key funder of major projects around the world. It's also interesting that more recently, We are looking at the situation, as the Honorable Minister, alluded to the fact that there's a new norm. We've never actually, in my time of knowing FIDIC, have to cancel a FIDIC conference. We canceled the FIDIC conference this year, which is a major challenge. And I'm very, very proud that we made the decision very early, because means we have to go from the usual normal into a new world that we deal with. And what does that new world mean? How do we communicate with 4.5 billion people around the world? How does our engineering profession present itself? How do we become the voice of the industry? And how do we advocate what is right and how best to move forward? This is a real challenge. And as you probably know, FIDIC response was swift. In essence, we actually focused on delivering 18 webinars over a period of 10 weeks. That 18 webinar over a period of 10 weeks was attended by nearly 9,000 people around the world. Participation from 105 countries around the world. And we had over 80 speakers from different parts of the world. Again, confirm that the new norm means we have to adjust. So, and I think what ACEN is doing today, a massive congratulations for being able to use the technology to engage and to make sure you keep the business of ACEN going as originally planned. And I congratulate you for that. The theme for the conversation this morning, as far as I understand it, the survivor, strengthening of consulting engineering practice in disruptive and uncertain time. Sounds like a very long word, but actually a short version of it is disruptive and uncertainty challenges facing consulting engineering industry in Nigeria and in the rest of the world. Yes, our situation in Nigeria may be unique, and therefore we need to apply a unique solution. We have a situation which is quite obvious and that needs to be addressed. Key concern for us, which is very, very important and well accepted, is the fact that COVID-19 is impacting the rest of the world. It's not just Nigeria, it's not just UK, it's not just Geneva. If we pause for a minute, it is a pandemic, means it's global. We started by assuming this is a health issue. More and more people are dying. Then it became an economic crisis. Then it goes on to become a social challenge. So moving from health issue, economic crisis, into a social challenge. And we've gone through the phases of all the issues that's impacting the society. As the minister said, we are not out of it yet. Millions of people affected globally, thousands of lives dead. May those who passed away rest in peace. Condolences to the family of those who lost one. And the new word and the language that is becoming so obvious is the word about working from home, social distancing, use of PPE, and using masks. This is now becoming the new language in our industry and in the world. And the world chart, we may continue to assume this is unique and we're not going to come out of it, but the reality of it is, against that backdrop, we have the issue of a Black Lives Matter campaign. We need to put it into perspective. From where we stand, the conference for us was canceled, and all the stuff that we've done just to make sure we are connecting, echo the message from the minister that we need to find a solution to address the challenges that is facing the industry. So from my point of view and from FIDIC point of view, where do we stand? I think it's wise for us to look back and to look at previous, major global issue that's impacted the world and ask ourselves what happened and how the situation unraveled itself. It's very simple. I think the most recent one, we go back to 2007 where we have financial meltdown. Perhaps if you go back to 1916 and 1917, you will understand that the pandemic, they call it the Spanish flu. In that Spanish flu, we had the first bout, we have the second bout. And we should not be surprised there will be a second wave because we've seen the evidence of that. Victoria has been locked down in Melbourne. We've had a further lockdown in Miami. We got lockdown happening in some part of Spain. Some local part of Nigeria, UK is being locked down. And constantly people are looking around the world to see what is the second wave and how we're going to respond to that. But if I go back to 2007 and see what actually happened as a result of the financial meltdown, as correctly alluded to, 5 years it took the world to come out of the financial crisis, and we are still not out of that crisis. What we experienced was a collapse of major big financial institutions. We saw consolidation of industry happening, and we saw a lot of changes in the way we do business. The financial sector become more tighter. You see banks and banks, both in Nigeria, outside Nigeria, in merger and acquisition. And all those things were to be meant to be challenges that we faced in 2007. But let's turn the coin round. What are the benefits that came out of 2007? I think we now use the word Uber, which is a new technology platform. You can get taxi anywhere around the world, wherever you go. This is a result of people looking at new, different business model. Amazon president is the richest man in the world. We heard the issue about Deliveroo. We heard the issue about Airbnb. These are new technology, new solutions that address the needs of the world, and they're here to stay. Some of these companies, you now hear that their market capitalization are huge, even bigger than Ford Motor Car. And this shows to that we can work together to find a solution that takes us to the next generation. So the question from my point of view is, what does COVID-19 mean for us in consulting practice, and particularly in Nigeria? When you look through all the conversation we had over the 18 webinar, there were issues to do with what does it mean for contracts? What does it mean for staff? What does it mean about employment? What does it mean to our relation with client? How do we communicate internally? How do we communicate externally? How do we address the issue of stakeholders? How do we get the message across? How do we look at contract and litigation and arbitration? All these issues impacted every consulting practice and construction industry all over the world. And we, in the consulting practice, we are not immune from all those challenges. But actually, since I'm given a short period to speak, I do not wish to take a lot of time, but I just want to plant a seed. If we've gone through that 18 webinar, and those webinars are available on YouTube, and you have access to them, and all your members can get access to them completely free. Let's pause for a minute and say, the COVID-19, do we see it as a threat, or is it opportunity, or is it both? My take on it is that if we see it as a threat, the traditional approach is that we see more Chinese domination through cheap loans to Africa and to Nigeria. And this is a caution for our government and ministers, and make sure that we do not get gazumped by the Chinese domination. Do we see the challenge about oil prices collapsing and then impacting the federal government budget? And is that a negative issue? Perhaps yes. We've seen the devaluation of Naira means that we cannot rely on more export because it's going to cost us a fortune to be able to pay for that. We've seen our inability to invest on infrastructure because those infrastructure require major capital investment. And as the minister said, we can look at all this issue and ask ourselves and said, what does the future provide for us? I do not see an issue about more reliance on external aid as a means to solve it. And I think the Honorable Minister really touched the subject earlier on. And I think the opportunity is now here for all the consulting industry, particularly in Nigeria and in Africa, to look back into homegrown solution. And I am keen that we take that as the direction of travel. So if you ask me, the mantra that I think the ACEN should be looking at is 3G, growth, growth, and growth. What does that mean? How do we talk and engage the government in terms of economic stimulant program? How do we look at the policy that the government is engaging in to make sure we can create an enabling environment for private sector to actually thrive? How do we look at strengthening our consulting engineering practices through capacity building of the industry, which means we need to look at the graduates who are coming out of university and effectively at a point where we do not want to lose them to the international market. I believe perhaps I'm a classic example of those engineers who left Nigeria, study abroad, and then find opportunity there. But can we continue to sustain that sort of loss of intellectual capacity? So I am very keen that we should see this as an opportunity for homegrown, that we should engage the government, and this is a role for ACEN, in a way that we can encourage the government to come up with a new policy, a new plan, and a new program that enable us to grow our industry. And I know that there are challenges on the domestic market. There are challenges to do with transparency. There are challenges to do with sustainability. There are challenges to do with governance. These are challenges will always be there. But nevertheless, we should see the gap that it's an opportunity for us in terms of capacity building. I do believe that some of the initiative that ACEN is taking should be developed further. And I believe under the president of Okoroma that this will continue to go. I believe the opportunity for Nigeria to thrive will come from government policy, but more important, will be driven by private sector-led economic growth on the agenda. I do believe that we should learn to be self-sufficient nation and less reliant on foreign experts. I've always challenged the Nigerian consulting industry, and for those who knows me, way back before I even took over the role as FIDIC CEO, I articulate a number of initiatives which can be taken on board. We have a homegrown consulting practice which is extremely fragmented. We need opportunity to grow our homegrown consulting firm. I know that the traditional approach is me and my family, but we have an opportunity to leave a legacy. If I go around the world, as I do, I meet companies such as WSP, Atkins, and Arab, and they're talking about 90,000, and they're talking about 100,000. And the challenge we have in Africa, and particularly in Nigeria, is the debate, why aren't we be given opportunity to lead big consulting assignment on big project, big dam, big road, and big airport? And it comes down to one simple issue. We need to have the capacity, and we can have the capacity if we are prepared to build our consulting practice to become a sustainable practice. We should find a way to move away from family business into a corporate enterprise that encourage people to come together, that encourage legacy to be left there, and to encourage people. And if that means collaboration among the consulting practice so that you can truly have a voice with the government. When you are fragmented, when you don't think together and act together, then the government don't listen. When the government listen, it's because you have a formidable force. And I'm really pleased that over the years that I've engaged ACEN, from my time as being the CEO of ACE in UK, I have seen significant growth. From Engineer Maya to Engineer Bayo Adeola to recently my fellow Ondoman who became president of ACEN, and now to see President Okoroko. I am really pleased that I've seen significant progress over the years within ACEN since I came into that, and I continue to hope and pray that that progress will continue to grow. But I think the trick to unlock it is about building capacity and building strength in our consulting practice. I know that there's a danger for us to keep pointing out, why are the foreign companies coming to Nigeria to do the job? The answer is we have to be strong, we have to provide a formidable solution, and we have to be seen to be sustainable. That way, we stop losing engineers outside the country, and we encourage the government to come out with an environment that is sustainable. I do not wish to take too much time because I'm mindful that a lot of questions would like to come from the floor. Yes, I started by saying COVID-19 was a health issue. It became economic crisis. Now it's a social challenge. I think we are going through unprecedented time, not only in Nigeria, but not only in Africa, it's worldwide. So we should not see ourselves to be in isolation. We are in that, and FIDIC is here to support. But more important for me, I hear the word new norm for the future, and the minister echoed that word. Hopefully the new norm will take us to the next chapter in the development of consulting practice in Nigeria. Engineers has a major role to play in delivery of the sustainability development goals of the United Nations. Every multilateral bank, including African Development Bank, the last time I spoke to Adeshina, he tells me that we are looking for capable and competent consulting industry to deliver projects which are bankable. If those projects are bankable, then finance will flow. We need to be mindful that Nigeria is the giant of Africa. The rest of Africa are looking up to Nigeria, and the rest of Africa engineering are looking up to Nigerian engineers to take a lead in the new wave of where we are going. I've seen significant progress in Nigerian industry, the telecommunication, has been very, very successful. The banking sector has been very successful. We have musical industry that is well known around the world. Our film industry is doing very well. Our entertainment industry is doing very well. Let's make our consulting practice in Nigeria one of the best that is possible. ACEN should leverage on the situation to become the thought leader, to group together all the leaders of our consulting practice, those past president, eminent president, who are international, who's delivered projects in the past. Let's make use of them. Let's deliver and let's leverage on capability. In my world, I think we have a golden opportunity for consulting engineers to show leadership on innovation. I talk about Uber. I talk about Airbnb. What is our own thing that we are going to invent in the consulting practice? How do we collaborate in Nigeria consulting industry and collaborate with civic society and industry and deliver a powerful consulting industry that our children and great-grandchildren want to be a member of that? In my closing sum, without taking too much of your time, I would like to thank the ACEN President, the organizing committee, members of ACEN for inviting me to address these members. I want to encourage ACEN to be visible, to promote the value proposition of consulting engineering profession as an enabler for positive change on rebuilding Nigerian social and economic infrastructure. Make ACEN a go-to organization, turn it to a trusted advisor, and I challenge you all to support FIDIC activity, because one of the things that FIDIC stands for is promoting the best standard. Quality, sustainability, and integrity are the three mantras. On that note, I want to thank you very much for the opportunity given to me. I'm open up for questions, and I'm delighted to support this particular initiative. So thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, our guest speaker. That was really quite thought-provoking. And I was pleased that you had quite a number of virtual hand claps. You heard one or two, but I can tell you that around the world, those listening and watching have been clapping. Thank you so much indeed. I think actually a lot of what you have said doesn't really need going over. And so we're going to go straight into a question and answer session. There are obviously questions and answers, but I would like to just say to those who have been putting one or two comments in the chat box, the way this has been set up, this first session has been set up as a webinar, and so to prevent too much distraction, only the panelists or facilitators are shown. However, as we open up now, we would like questions to be put into the Q&A box, and to make it as interactive as possible, we will try and entertain some live questions, because I know somebody asked if their video or they can be made. We will be able to bring you in to talk. So what I would suggest for those of you who are familiar with Zoom, you just simply go to the participants or to the raise hand and raise your hand if you want to actually speak. If not, you can always jot your questions in the chat box. And I already have one question, which I will take straight. It's from Engineer Uchenna Onyaya. He says, please, sir, how can a young company practically form a formidable entity that can outlive him? This is very much a Nigerian thing, because I know in your talks, you did mention about the problems we face in terms of me, and the fact that we don't do much collaboration. So I'll just repeat the question again. How can a young company practically form a formidable entity that can outlive him?
Engineer Kunle, I take it the question is going to me?
Oh, yes. You are the only one being asked questions at this session. I hope.
I think for those who had the opportunity to watch CNN yesterday, you probably see that the tech giant, Zuckerberg and Amazon and all of them, they became what they consider to be the big beast of the world now, that they can control the rest of the world through their technology platform. And that idea stemmed from a young man who broke out of Harvard because he's got great ideas that he wants to create a company. And he abandoned his career for this particular profession. So if he can do that and turn it into something that is global, just by creating a platform for students to network and can see the commercial incentive, the same thing can happen. In a nutshell, you could create a company that will outlive you by having a clear vision. But fundamental to that is having a good qualification that enable you to stand above shoulder on professionalism. When President Okoroma spoke, he talked about the professionalism. And in consulting engineering profession, we talked about having people who can become a go-to, people who can be an advisor, people that you can learn from. If you go to China, a lot of the leaders in China are engineers because they have something to offer. So my answer to you, if you have the clear vision, go through the process where you can learn from those people ahead of you, learn the rules, learn the qualification, and if you're so ambitious that you really, really want to start before the qualification, don't let that stop you. Find somebody who can mentor you. Get your apprenticeship and your program through an entity where you have your clear vision. The issue is not about not having people who have the capability. It's just about people can see beyond themselves. As a Rotarian, I remember we used to call it service above others. And that still stands with me at the age of 28 when I joined the Rotary Club. And at that time, I wasn't a fellow of the Institute of Civil Engineering, but I was so proud that I want to contribute, because what I was told when I was young by my mother, because I lost my father at the age of 9, my mom used to say to me, as long as people live, there will always be a need for engineer. You have to build a society. You build a family, you build a house, you build a road, you build the bridges. So for those who are young, who are coming in the industry, don't let the 90,000 scare you. Don't let the, the aging that we have in our industry, don't let it scare you. Go forthright with your vision. Have a clear path of what you want to do. But in that journey of life, there is nothing as good as experience. And that means find people that can mentor you, people who's been there, got there, and got the t-shirt. Let them encourage you and mentor you through that process. But you need to have a clear vision. And that clear vision should be something that is go beyond your time on this planet, that leave you a legacy. I'll give you a classic example. If you talk about the famous civil engineer, you talk about Thomas Telford. Thomas Telford was not a qualified engineer before he became the fellow and also the president of the Institute of Engineering. But he had a clear vision of what he wants to do. The whole of the parliament rely on him for advice. So, and that started from the age of 23, 24. So the age should not be a barrier for those who want to come into our profession. And I think the key word is learn your skill, be professional about what you do, and let what you do speak for itself rather than you telling people how good you are. There's a lot of people out there who are salespeople who are not doer. If you can do it and you can stand by what you do, believe it or not, have a clear vision that you want to grow a business. And when people can see the path that you lie down in front of you and you pursue that vigorously, believe it or not, opportunity will come, and in time you will grow that business. So please see the glass as half full, not half empty. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We actually have questions coming in, but I want to allow the immediate past president, Engineer Charles Akindayomi, to ask this question. You are being allowed now, so please, I will unmute you as well. Okay, please go ahead. Maybe you're mute. Maybe we're struggling against yourselves. Please just, Engineer Akindayomi, just unmute yourself. Very good. Please go ahead.
First of all, let me congratulate you again. I will call him Engineer Ogunshakin. Thank you very much for that inspirational speech that you've just given us. Yes, we've talked about issues you've mentioned in your speech. For example, that we have fragmented consultants all over the country. Some of us have been running practices for over 30 years. And we find out that obviously we've got to a point we need to hand over to younger ones. But then you now find out that because we as Nigerians, sometimes we can be so unsure of ourselves coming together as a big firm, because we say, if you come together, then how are you going to now get the jobs to sustain the firm? But I think very strongly that this mindset that we are having is a problem of our institutions. Our institutions should be the patriots, to be the one driving engineers in this country to develop, to grow. But nonetheless, they still desire to give these jobs to foreigners at such an inflated cost that some of us wonder that this thing can be done at such a low price. But nonetheless, we continue talking within ourselves and seeing the way where we can shift the mindset of these people that run these institutions to start thinking and looking at us as Nigerians, and they're thinking as patriots. So we are not going to stop at being fragmented, because with me, at my firm that's been over 30 years, I want to leave a legacy. Right? And I will get to a point that I will be forced to call people to join, but can I sustain the company if I don't get the patronage from the government in order to sustain us? So this problem is not peculiar to my firm, it's peculiar to a lot of our firms. So it's a matter of shifting, how to find a way of shifting the mindset of our institutions, of our government, to actually promote us and then support us. So what I've just said is a comment, just to butcher what you said, not really a question. But if you have something to say to that, please, you're welcome.
I would like to just moderate there. Thank you so much, Engineer Akindayomi. Probably just so that we manage the time, please, guest speaker, just hold your comments on that, and let's just take one or two more from the floor. I recognize Engineer Chief Olumuyiwa Ajibola to please talk, and then a few others have raised their hands too. Please, so Engineer Ajibola, I'm permitting you to speak.
Thank you very much. I appreciate. It's been a very good morning for me listening to this very inspiring speech by Nelson. Nelson, how are you?
Thank you very
much. My thinking has been that right now, consulting engineering in Nigeria is at its lowest ebb. And I'm quite happy that the Honorable Minister is here. An Honorable Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is at this meeting. What you have just described would be the logical progression for consulting companies in Nigeria, because it could be done. But what we now have is that the people who are actually handling infrastructure projects in Nigeria are hardly known to the consulting engineer, to the consulting Association of Consulting Engineering in Nigeria. Now we have this dysfunctional system, which might need to be revisited. Now, I believe that there's need to redefine the essence of consultancy in infrastructure development in Nigeria. And I would like to see ACEN play a leading role in this, along with the other institutions, the Nigerian Society of Engineers, the current and the Academy, Nigerian Academy of Engineering, to redefine the essence of consulting services to the infrastructure domain. Without this, we would not be able to grow these farms that our instructor has spoken about. We need that to show that that is indeed how you can get projects that can be managed in such a way that we will save money, we will optimize costs, in other words. So I think that we need to look at that, and the way to do it is to even look at what we have done so far, see the profiles of the projects, and let us be able to reach conclusions from those. Maybe the essence of consulting will be better felt in this way. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. I hope our guest speaker, I think they are taking notes, because I still want to, I will still certainly come back to you, but please just hold that as well. I see a Tony. I'm not sure who Tony is. I will give, because you actually raised your hand first, I'm going to, and then followed by Sir Edet Amana, a past president, and then we will, okay, I think Tony seems to have gone off. So let me just go straight to Engineer Amana, please, past president. You can unmute yourself. Yes, sir. Please unmute. Please unmute, sir.
Am I okay now? Can you hear me?
Yes, very much so, sir. Good morning, sir. Please go ahead.
Good morning, and let me also appreciate Dr. Nelson Ogunshakin for a very beautiful presentation. I want to talk about two things. One is the issue of diaspora, because you know, it appears that the best of Nigeria is now outside the country, and I think it is time for us to see how the diaspora can join forces with those of us who are in country to move the consulting industry forward. And I think the time is right for that, because now when you talk about firms, the firms, the people don't all have to be in one room, in one place. And I can see now that it is possible for people who've got the same kind of idea, the same kind of passion to come together, whether they be in Nigeria, in the UK, in America, form themselves into a body, have a name, and then be able to do things which are beyond what organizations inside country can do. Take, for instance, you mentioned the issue of your discussion with Dr. The head of
Additional.
Yes, of course. No, I don't believe that many people here in the country are aware of the things which they can do. But people who are out of the country, like which you can, of whom you know, Dr. Ogunshakin, can know the people, or sorry, know the things which can be done with, and then can come together and form organizations, form a company which can go beyond what companies at home are doing. So what I'm saying is that I think it is time to see how the diaspora people can link up with local people in Nigeria to also grow the consulting industry. Number one. Number two, sir, the time is now really for the Nigerian consulting industry to latch onto technology, because of the lack of projects. It's not lack of expertise, but projects for local firms, they cannot acquire the technology which is required to grow the firms and begin to compete not only locally but internationally. So there again, I believe that the diaspora can link up to the local firms and to grow this area of consultancy, especially to see how to move the local way of working on projects to leverage on technology. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, sir. Thank you so much. We will definitely now go towards the guest speaker to make some, I think a lot of these are comments, and therefore I'm also going to use this opportunity to just read out a lot of the written questions so that we can take it all in totality. I think most of them have common trends. Dr. Bright says, good morning. Many professional engineers have identified capacity of Nigerian consulting firms as the primary reason why they are not engaged in big projects. How can this be changed? Engineer Tunde Jimo says, does ACEN aggregate ideas from engineers? For example, I am currently building a concrete testing application. Do we collate new ideas from members and provide necessary support for growth and collaborations? I know this may well have to be the president, but I think I will still throw those to the guest speaker. Another engineer, Ime, says, most state governments do not even patronize engineering consultants at all. What is or what can ACEN do to help? Engineer Yomi Lawson says, I have suggestions on capacity building and coming together to take on bigger projects. And I think that is going to be much welcome because ACEN is actually has a consortium committee, forming committee. Engineer Oyelola says, you talked about being wary of the Chinese dominance, which I agree with. The Chinese have taken over in Nigeria through loans. What word do you have for our government in this regard? And finally, is it only the federal government? This is from Engineer Bassi. Is it only the federal government that is bound to use consulting engineering services? Even with that, why do we spend money on engineering associations and COREN? And yet, organizations like NDDC still operate the way they do. Engineer Nelson Ogunshakin, I think you have your hands full, so but we're trying to get our full value for money. So please, over to you.
My dearest brother, and thank you very much for that long list of things to respond to. But let me take it one at a time. My dearest brother, Engineer Charles from my Ondo town, and congratulations for your successful year as president of ACEN, and transit that one into Engineer Okoroko. Your point is quite valid. It was a statement that you made rather than actually telling me what I don't know. But I think the word you raised there is that for some of those people who are transiting and retiring, what is the game plan? I think the game plan is very simple. We traditionally look at, passing on legacy to our children. And in most cases, our children these days, not all of them follow our footsteps. They go into different paths. And I think, they look at, the legacy that we leave in terms of, inheritance, and whether it's sharing a business or value asset. And that may be appropriate then for us to think about, it has to be my son or my daughter. I think that fundamental issue is a shift that one needs to look through. And I know that you're not making a particular question to me, you're making a comment along the line that, these challenges is not just purely your company or others. And I share that and I empathize. But I think my key word is a number of people who are looking to move on can come together and say, we have this challenge. How can we pull our resources together? So 2 + 2 can be 5, or 2 + 2 can be 8. And collaborating so that you build a more formidable team stay back as an advisor to that particular group, and that group can move forward. I do share that issue. Engineer that followed that one talks about issue about pipeline and how do we bring jobs together. I have this challenge, and I will share with you because we are fellow Nigerians, in the sense that it goes by saying people always talked about the issue that some prophets are not actually respected in their own country. I have had the situation where I try to put myself forward to support a project, and I find that most cases, if you don't have the white face or speak with American accent or British accent, nobody looks at you in Nigeria, which is really damn, because there's a lot of fantastic people in Nigeria who are really qualified and they can do a fantastic job. I have seen a British company with a Nigerian leading it, and he finds it very difficult to go to Nigeria and present himself as a CEO because he's Nigerian by origin. And he needs to go out with his junior staff because he's white to be seen as that person, because that's the face that we like. That cannot be sustainable. That cannot be sustainable. That's, in fact, most embarrassing, because I know in all the role that I've played all my life, even right now, I sit on Transport for London, which is a 10.5 billion business. And I sit there with Sadiq Khan, and I'm talking with authority because of my qualification, and I'm respected with what I can do. But if I go to Nigeria, if I go to Lagos, as much as, you know, our governor happens to be somebody that I know for over 20 years, and if I go to Lamat and say, I have an idea on Third Mainland Bridge, I'm not Chinese, I'm not white, I won't be seen as somebody who can deliver something that is credible. That is wrong. That is fundamentally wrong. We need to get to a point where we start to believe in ourselves and we believe that we can do things together. Yes, we will make mistakes. Yes, we will not get it world perfect. Hey, let's stop for a minute and look at the Chinese history. The Chinese went to Japan to copy the high-speed rail system. When I went to Japan and I saw the Japanese strategy, they went to Scotland to get the first locomotive train that they took apart and rebuilt it. And then from there, they had their first Shinkansen in 1964. Now the Chinese went to Japan and copied. Yes, so many people died, but they've got the highest number of high-speed rail in the world. We need to believe in ourselves. What the minister was saying, I fully echo that, which is how do we do a homegrown? We need to be passionate, we need to trust each other, and we need to get the message across. This is very critical. The other point that was raised by engineer Edith, another fellow engineer, highly respected, and thank you very much for coming online. I welcome the idea about Nigerian diaspora. There's so many Nigerian diaspora going around in different parts of the world, in UK, in Switzerland, in America, and most of them, they are really frustrated because the view is that, you know, when you go to Nigeria, those who are in Nigeria say, we don't need you because you cannot bring the foreign solution to solve domestic issues. Let me pause for a minute. There is one Nigeria called Ogulesi. He owns Heathrow Airport, he owns Gatwick Airport. He was once the chairman of AFC, which is African Finance Corporation. He's a lawyer. He was born in Ibadan. And he raised money to have multi-billion assets. He's managing multi-billion assets. Why can't people like that be encouraged to come to help us to see how do we create the institutional framework? How do we get to go to the government to have 5-year strategic plan that create opportunity roadmap for industry, that we don't have governor and minister changing and recreating the master plan every time, or through the process, it has to be my own. Why can't I build on what other people's done? Why can we build on that? So I understand the issue about Nigerian diaspora. I think Nigerian in diaspora are also willing. Nobody wants to leave outside Nigeria if Nigeria is conducive. So there is an opportunity there. I'm not dismissing it, but actually ACEN can play a role in that process. I talked about ACEN being the voice, a thought leadership, and somebody that we can go to. ACEN can actually encourage the development of knowledge and competencies and put that together. And I think it's an opportunity there. The issue about capacity is something that I recognize. When you have pipeline of projects that is coming through at state level, at federal government level, and more important, at the private sector level, then you can create a market that is sustainable, and then the industry can embrace that, because it has to be a two-way. It's not just a supply. You need to have the demand side. So I do believe that we cannot depend on the federal government, but what we can depend on federal government on is quite important. And this is not unique to Nigeria. It's all over the world. Is how do we use our association and institution as a collective voice and a formidable voice to tackle and talk to the government, that we can come up with a solution that is sustainable. That is our real challenge. I found that when I was running ACEN in UK, that individual institutions are so fragmented unless they come together with a united voice, collective together, and engage the government and present a proposition on how do we solve the problem. Let me point something at one. We engineers are trained to solve problem, social problem, infrastructure problem, people's problem. In fact, there's a competition between the doctors and the engineers, and the engineer always win the case. The reason for that is we can help to create social fabric. Without the social fabric, the medical profession doesn't survive. We need to find a point where we can connect to government at the point where they can listen to us, because in most cases, and we thank God for the opportunity we have, Engineer Suleiman, who is in the government, how many people who are in government have the competencies to find the solution? We can be in that position. But I do take the point that 2 + 2 can be 5, not in engineering, but actually it's called power of leveraging. If the institution comes together, and if the association comes together and collectively speak with one voice, not with too many voices, not with too many objectives, 1 or 2 objectives, and keep homing that messaging, eventually I believe our politicians will listen. They need us if we're going to have a sustainable business environment. They need us if we are going to look after 200 million people and growing in Nigeria. They need us if we are going to stop the Chinese and other invaders to come to Nigeria to provide a solution, and they take the money out of the way. So I do believe that this issue of the role of engineer, and I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about it. I may be an advocate of promoting consulting engineer worldwide. I still have my foot in projects around the world, including Nigeria. And I think it's very important that we must encourage our engineers, those who are coming close to retirement, encourage them to be involved with the banking sector. Encourage them that they can advise the banking and the lending institution so that the risk can be manageable. Encourage them to be special advisor to government who need that advice. So there are ways that we can use our leaders who are eminent engineers who are coming to retirement to be advisor to those who are decision maker. We do not have to be the decision maker. We just have to be around the table. And the message is, if we are not around the table, we become part of the menu. I do not wish that the role of consulting engineer is to become part of the menu. I wish and encourage the role of consulting engineer to be around the table, to be encouraging those people who are making decisions to make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Definitely, we must not be part of the menu. We must be right at the table. It actually sets a great stage for the discussions we'll be having during the EGM later on. All good things must come to an end, and so we have to wrap up this question and answer session. I will just acknowledge 1 or 2 comments that were made. Engineer Lagunju did say many firms started well and were growing, but growth was truncated by lack of payment of invoices by governments and clients, frustrating that growth. Unlike in other nations, what do we do? Somebody else who is shown as Galaxy Note 10 says, can FIDIC create a bank of consulting engineering firms worldwide according to their specialities, where smaller firms who need to collaborate can go to, etc. There are a lot of questions. I would like to mention first and foremost that all these questions are noted, and I will say probably close to 30% of them are ones which the president needs to address, because many of them are asking, what can ACEN do? So we will definitely deliver that huge envelope of questions to the doorstep of the president. I can't, because I became a standing moderator, I can't hold the mic and hear everyone else speak and not also just ask you a question, which I will say, Engineer Ogunshakin, please don't answer because of time. But I just feel that when you started your presentation, you talked about new technology. You talked about how Zoom and others are now, making it big based on having good ideas for the appropriate time. And I think that one of the things that I would like us to all think about, and definitely if you do have some ideas, sir, please pass them to us, is what are those new skills that we can probably start to imbibe or to latch onto that will be a differentiator that would now allow us to be different? Because it's one thing saying Nigerians aren't being patronized, but if in fact there's no choice but to come to us because we are these well-skilled resource, then of course, at least that gives us a leverage to the opportunity. So I think one of the things we should definitely do as consulting engineers is see what are those things that are going to turn us into another Zoom or anything else for that matter. Thank you so much, our guest speaker, for being with us. I didn't want to mention it, but I think it is worth saying that Engineer Ogunshakin had to actually switch from a pre-scheduled appointment with people both in Australia and in America, and had to do, especially for this occasion. It is not anything less than I would expect because he's one of us and he has shown it. Thank you very much indeed. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to continuous collaboration together with FIDIC. We'll definitely be whenever the conferences resume. At this point, I think we have done very well. Fairly to time, we're just probably about a few minutes behind. It is now time for the vote of thanks by the Vice President to please come forward and give us the vote of thanks.
Well, my President, Engineer George Okoroma, the Honorable Minister, the guest speaker, ESCO members that are present, council members that are present, members of the organizing committee, our sponsors, and all attending members. I want to take a short route. I will say thank you, and that will be the end. But please permit me not to take that short route. First, I must thank the Honorable Minister for honoring us. As a Muslim, this could have been a very demanding day, but he still managed to stay with us, so we thank him. My president is looking at me, thinking that I will thank him. I will thank you eventually, but not now. Well, guest speaker, how can I thank Engineer Nelson Ogunshakin? Is it because he's representing us so well outside this country? We were thanking him when he was in UK. Now we are thanking him now that he's in Geneva. We love everything about you, Nelson. I remember that in 2007, you with me started a seminar that eventually came out in 2008, and you brought in so many consultants and real industry shakers in the United Kingdom to this country to come and give us a very well-rounded seminar. We cannot thank you enough. Can we thank you because you've made us proud as Nigerians? Can we thank you because you have been given an OBE despite the fact that you are not British? Can we thank you because you have represented us so well in FIDIC? I attended some of your webinars, and I must say I felt proud. That is enough to thank you for. Now you now brought in this topic, the survival and strengthening of consulting engineering practice in disruptive and uncertain times. You have lectured us, you have shown us the way, you have talked to us from the point of view of somebody who was involved and who had been involved, who had seen where the shoe were pinching. I can tell you the shoe is no more pinching you, but it's still pinching those of us that you left behind. So we will still be coming to you. So I thank you very much. We cannot thank you enough. And I must say, thanks for finding the time to be with us. I thank all the ESCO members that are present, and I thank all the council members that are present. I thank all the past presidents that are present, and even our Doyen, who is now our vice president in diaspora. So I thank him also. I think he possibly will be listening. Well, I must say, I thank members of the organizing committee. Engineer Kule Adibajo, you've done very well. You've done very, very well. You've given us what we think we are able to deliver. Thank you very much. Well, our sponsors, I thank you all, and all attendees, all of us. It's beautiful. At a certain time, we were 99. Now we are 92. And that is beautiful. So thank you very much for being with us. Now, my president, I thank you for the leadership. Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much indeed for thanking us. I will say that there is one small thing left to do. Because as my vice president has said, it's been a very good session. Therefore, whatever is good tends to cost a bit of money. I'm therefore trying to bring in an innovation. I pray it will work. It's, us engineers have to keep up with the time. So we're going to have a poll just before we close. But the poll is not actually about, did this guest speaker do well, or was your internet up? But for some other reason, for the sustenance and strengthening of ACEN, because it's very clear that we have a major role to do. We have a lot, based on what has been talked to us, I think we have a lot to do. So this poll we're launching now will hopefully show up, and I hope that you will be able to, it's a voting, but you're voting with your money. So it says, how much would you like to donate? And you can use your multiple choice. So, we're doing well. So please just click. The advantage of clicking is that your attendance will be registered, 1. 2, obviously your donation will be registered. 3, you will be entered into a special poll for pot for a prize. So I can see it's doing very well. We will keep this poll up for the next 1.5 minutes, and then we will see how we voted. So far, I can see that the 10,000s are leading in the race, which is not surprising. Maybe if we had done 500 naira, that might have done even better. But it's very good. Please keep polling. I can see that so far only 26% of you have voted, and I would like that to get at least up to about 40 to 50%. Then, if that doesn't happen, we won't be able to move into the second session. We'll just remain online. And I know that our guest speaker has to go. Unfortunately, our guest speaker, this is N. I don't know if you recognize N. It stands for Naira. So you might, I will excuse you from voting and assume that whatever letter you use will be sent accordingly. I also want to say that the special guest of honor for today, I'm not sure if he's necessarily still with us or getting ready for another engagement, but I will hope that he will not look at these figures as for him. He will be looking at something on a totally different scale. Okay, so we are at 41%. I think that's not bad at all. Any others who want to quickly vote just to be sure of that special prize that will come their way? The president, even though he doesn't know, the president is actually the one who's going to buy the prize. Incidentally, this also includes, please, if you have actually already made your contribution, feel free to register it here as well, donate. So at this point, I'm going to close the poll, and you will probably see the results, I hope, on the screen. And I'm going to share the results now, and you'll see that there are some. Hopefully you can see that the 10,000 got 50% of the votes, which is pretty good. Surprisingly, 20,000 got more than the 15. And the 50,000 actually did better than both 15 and 30. It seems that particular was the lowest common multiple. I'm not sure in this instance. Thank you very much for that. At this point, we will close to please rise for the national anthem.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. Just before we go, just a little bit of housekeeping. This is the end of the first part, and we will allow our special guest guest speaker to leave. But at exactly 12 o'clock, which is in about 20 minutes time, we will be resuming formally with the EGM. The EGM is effectively for those who have registered. We're aware that people all around the world joined us, but this particular meeting is for those who have registered. So if you have not registered, please quickly go to the ACEN website, click on the red button and register. Immediately register, an email will come your way with the conference package, which will include the reports and also the brochure. Thank you very much indeed. We will resume again. Please don't keep on this particular webinar channel because we are going off to a meetings pro. So you in the email you got, you'll notice that for those who have registered, there's a separate joining instruction. Please click on that instruction and join us. We look forward to seeing you in the next 20 minutes. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Here we stand as a people with one song, with one voice. We're a nation undivided and poised. We will take us down and build ọzọ